Yeah.
But what up, y'all? It's your boy Jamil with another video, another interview. I got a homeboy of mine, somebody I've known for about 10 years or so.
Mm.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Garret Ielapi. Yeah, like Jamil said, we met 10 years ago, and I am currently living in Rochester, New York, and I'm 28 years old.
Swag, you're old.
Boom.
All right, so we're going to get to that in a little bit, but tell us where you're from.
Yeah, so I am from, I was born in Cleveland and raised in Westlake, Ohio, and that's where I grew up. Yeah, Westlake, Ohio.
Yeah, so tell us just a little bit about your upbringing, how you grew up exactly in Westlake.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I had, honestly, I had an awesome childhood. Just typical suburbia. Grew up.
So the suburbs.
Yeah.
So
suburbs.
Yeah, Westlake, Ohio is the suburbs, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Just grew up on a semi busy street. Pretty just small average house. Raised by my mom and my dad, and I have a little sister that's 17 months younger than me. So we always have been pretty close. And yeah, man, it was awesome. I love that town. Just grew up in just riding my bike and hanging out with, the neighborhood friends and getting into trouble and causing mischief and, just being a normal kid. So, yeah, man.
Yep. So for a lot of people, I guess most people, our lives are shaped by what happened in school, basically.
Yeah.
Middle school, high school. So just explain how was school for you?
Yeah, how was school for me? So I had a lot of friends in school. I had a tendency to try and get a lot of attention. I was loud. I was a class clown. I did really stupid stuff to get attention. Coming into, middle school and high school age, I remember, my parents, they were awesome in raising me. They made me, they took me to church and all that stuff growing up. And then when I got to middle school and high school, they got a little more lax in that area and kind of made it an option for me and gave me the choice. Like, they're not going to, we're not going to force beliefs on you. We want you to find truth for yourself. We're not just going to, lend it to you from us or whatever. And so after that point, I didn't really go. I didn't really care for it. The only times I did go was just to go to youth group for girls, naturally, and food. That was it. And games, like if there was a sick game where I could just, pwn people with a dodgeball. But yeah, that was it. And so pretty much with that attitude going into high school, I got super, quickly into the lifestyle of parties and heavy drinking and, running from the cops. More for fun. I actually didn't really steal anything or actually I did that one time.
Mm-hmm.
I got charged with larceny my sophomore year of high school for stealing beer out of a person's garage at 3 p.m. So dumb. But we used to just run from the police just for the adrenaline rush and the fun of it. And yeah, that was just kind of I just kind of had a crazy-ish lifestyle and attitude in high school. You only live once. You got to live life to the fullest. Who cares about consequences? That was my attitude, and it was very, immature and godless. And yeah. So that was my school.
Ironically, last year I was accused of breaking into somebody's garage and stealing beer.
No, you were not.
That's a whole other. I was.
Oh my God.
People said the black dude in the blue car broke in my garage and stole beer. It was like, really? Out of all people, me, it was like, for one, I think beer's disgusting, but that's a whole other. All All right, so you talked a little bit about this, but just explain your faith a little bit.
Yeah. So my faith journey, it really started in high school for sure. I remember it was my senior year, really my senior year. And the thing about Westlake and kind of that whole area of, West Cleveland area is it's very heavily populated in with Muslims and Arabs, and a very heavy Islamic just influence and population. And so that in my high school environment, in a nutshell, my senior year of high school, I was just very curious about it and very perplexed. I remember I would just be up till 2 or 3 a.m. just researching the faith, just out of a curiosity. And like I said before, like I was brought up in a Christian household. I was taken to church. Like I knew the stories. I didn't read the Bible a lot, but like I knew its content. And so when I was researching this faith, I started seeing obviously like similar characters, similar storylines, and it was just so like mind-boggling to me, because I was like, wait a minute, like there's so many similarities, but I just knew that they both couldn't be true. You know what I mean? Because they obviously contradicted each other. And so it really, my senior year of high school, I remember it really was like a battle for truth. Like I was definitely like doing the party scene and all that stuff on the outside, but on the inside there was like an all-out war of me just trying to figure out like what's true, like why am I here, what's the reason for all of this, you know what I mean? And so I remember it was after I graduated in 2010, and that summer wrapped up that I just hit a low point, man. Like it was just one of those nights where you feel like everything just buries in. The girl that I was dating at the time, we ended our relationship that night, and like I have been, in this lifestyle of drinking all the time and partying all the time, and just being someone I wasn't, and it all kind of like came out that night, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, man, I was on my knees in my backyard at like midnight, and it was just that night of me looking to the sky and just being like, all right, like who is real? Like what am I doing here? Is Jesus real? Is Allah real? Are UFOs real? Like I just wanted to know. And so I was sitting in my room that night, and I was just depressed or whatever. I was just fed up, and not an audible voice, but a presence, a something urged me to get up and just walk to the beach. I was 2 miles from the shore of Lake Erie, where my parents' house is, and I was just like, I was putting it off, like I just didn't want to, but it was like I had never had this kind of urge before, never had this direction, and so I kind of gave in, and I didn't have anything else going on, and so I went, and man, like everything that night from then on, like the walk was just something. There was something tranquil about it, and when I got to the beach, I remember I just sat down, and it was just so calm, and it was so peaceful, and the best way for me to just like describe how I felt and what it felt like that night was like, I've been searching for this thing, and just saying, Garrett, like I didn't put you into these situations that you've gotten yourself into this past year, or like whatever like sparked this curiosity and faith, but as soon as you did, I knew I was going to get your attention. And I mean, man, ever since then, I mean, there were waterworks. I was just like, you know what, Lord, like, and it just all like hit me that night. Like, I was just like, Lord, you're real. I see it now. And I'm going to follow you and just not look back. And that is what happened. And, that was, September 5th, 2010. And, I remember the next day I contacted Matt Gurton, who you know. He was at the time the youth pastor of the church my parents were going to, and him and I had formed, even like me being an idiot through high school, like he was actually, we formed a really good relationship, and he like made it, you know, a mission to invest in me and walk with me despite me being such a rebel. And he was the first person I told, like, hey man, this thing just happened to me. Like I feel like a whole different person. I want to follow the Lord and I want to learn more about him. And, you know, he just took me under his wing, and he started inviting me to this young adult group that he had started called Generation. It was just like a Thursday night like Bible study that young adults were able to go to. And that's where I first started getting discipled. And and how you and I met, like when you came in the picture, a big reason, looking back, like a huge way that the Lord was getting a hold of me also in high school, my senior year, was I remember a good friend of mine had introduced me to Lecrae. And when I first heard a Lecrae song, obviously it was Jesus Music with a Z, because that's like, that was like a first for a lot of people. I heard it.
We don't spell correct.
I first thought like, no joke, my first thought was this has to be from, I thought it was from Saturday Night Live. Like I thought it was like a straight up comedy rap skit. I was like, no way, this is real. And then my good friend, he kept showing me more songs. I was like, okay, they've actually wrote multiple songs. Okay, there's multiple artists. Wow, this is a legitimate record label that does this. And that's when I was like, wow, this is for real. And what started as a joke became like, I was listening to it like a lot. And it was, I wasn't going to church, man, and I wasn't, you know, reading the Bible, but that was the church and, you know, the Bible going into my ears, man. Like it was so, it was just influencing me. And so now becoming a believer, my 18-year-old logic was, you know, like this was a huge way of me, you know, coming to the Lord, and I want others to come to the Lord. Like, how should I do it? I think I'll write music. And that's what happened. And I told that to Matt. And then that's when your name came up, man. He's like, well, I got to introduce you to Jamil. He's a rapper in Cleveland, and he loves the Lord. And yeah, dude, you and I hooked up like, you know, a week or two after that. And yeah, that's when you became a very prominent mentor figure in my life, and discipled me in those early years, man. And so yeah, ever since then, and then a year later, man, a year after I got saved, I ended up I was at a Bible school in upstate New York, because all I wanted to do was just tell people about Jesus from then on. And, you know, that's when I learned that's called missions and mission work. And so that's what I went to school for. And yeah, man, that's where my faith journey just really sparked. And, you know, 10 years later, I'm here, and yeah, man, following after the Lord and wanting other people to do it too. So.
Well, when I was 18, I got a tattoo. That was my come to Jesus moment.
Like, dude, I got
get a Christian tattoo.
I did like 6 months after I got a cross on my scapula back here. Yeah. Just to backtrack a little bit, you briefly mentioned Matt Shooch. Yep.
In my last interview, me and CW talked about a guy named Kiro, who he had a lot to do with our faith and discipling us. And for you, it was Matt and Gooch. So how important do you think it is for anybody, especially a young Christian, to have an older person to pour into you and disciple you?
Absolutely vital. Oh my gosh, absolutely vital. Because it's not just him talking to me and, like, you know, not just us sitting down having coffee and him like walking me through scripture and walking me through the gospel message. It was like, I still wanted to do stupid stuff every now and then, you know, like I didn't just quit cold turkey with the lifestyle I had. Like, it definitely took some processing time, some months of detoxifying myself from that lifestyle. And so it wasn't just him, you know, sitting down with me and walking with me through scripture. It was him, you know, contacting me and keeping me accountable. Like, hey dude, like, where were you last Friday night? Like, what were you up to? Like me coming to him being like, hey dude, like, this is something I did like last night and I just need like help. Like, because I was starting to understand what conviction was. I had never felt that before. And it wasn't with guilt and shame or anything. It was just straight up the Lord, like, working in my heart and changing me now, because I was now open to it. And so Chooch is his nickname. Yeah. And just me, like, Chooch, like, walking with me through that processing time. You know, it wasn't just like Bible thumping or like what a lot of non-believers or stuff like will look at it as. Like, it was straight up like him having, you know, having my one arm around his shoulder and him just legitimately supporting me through this new transition of lifestyle. So yeah, I would definitely say absolutely vital.
Mm-hmm.
No question. And I mean, still to this day, he's like that to me. You know, I'm nowhere near perfect or anything, and I've done a lot of stupid stuff since then. And he's been that figure that.
Oh, you mean you're human?
Bring me back. Yeah. So
it's amazing, right? We're human.
He's never not been like that for me. So yeah, I would. It's not just young Christians. It's going to be like that the rest of your life, and you need it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now, going back into you and rap, I think you're underestimating yourself a little bit. Because I remember when I was hanging out with my friend Moises, and he said, I got this guy that wants to rap. It's like, oh, okay. Then, like, a week later, he introduced me to you.
Yeah.
Now, after that point, you've performed many places. You've organized and put on concerts. So yes. I think you're underestimating yourself a little bit. So just explain a little more. How do you feel about your music and what you were doing there?
Yeah, man, honestly, like, I will always cherish that season of life. So yeah, you definitely gave me that initial and like here are the basics, dude. Like, just helped me develop a love, a sense of rhythm, an understanding of the art form, and a passion for it. And then when I got to Bible school, I actually, within a day, I told people, like, you know, I was into hip hop and I wanted to write hip hop music, and they all were telling me about this dude named Josiah, who was also a freshman at this Bible school. And obviously we met, and he was the same, pretty similar love and passion for it. And we just wanted to use rap lyrics to spread the gospel message. And so, I mean, we just clicked immediately. We started writing music together, and we did all 3 years. The Bible school we went to was a 3-year program. It was 2 years for an associate degree in theology, and then the final year was a kind of an optional to pursue your more specific area of ministry. And so mine was mission work, and I think his was pastoral, just general pastoral ministry. But yeah, that was our 3 years, man. That's what we did, and it really was incredible. Like, we went from just two little white boys who wanted to become rappers to we got to tour a lot of the U.S. People having us out for conferences and youth camps and stuff. Like, we were flown out to Miami, Florida, to do a conference and perform. And you know, that was one of those moments of just like, wow, dude, I cannot believe we've gotten to this point. I got to go on a few mission trips. I went to Costa Rica in 2013, and our big ministry was going to multiple high schools, to multiple auditoriums for like when the whole school gets together for I forget what that word is called, but the whole school gets together, and we performed for these public high schools. Like, they weren't Christian, they weren't private or anything, and I was performing in those for crowds of like 400 to 1,000 students. And yeah, man, it was such a awesome time. And I remember the final project I did, Josiah and I, as a duo, we called ourselves Remade after, what is it? Is that Second Corinthians 5:17 or First Corinthians? New creation. I think that's Second Corinthians 5:17.
Right.
Nailed it. Yep. And the final project I did as a solo gig, and I'm on it. That was 6 years ago. I think I released that on like Noise Trade, and I think I'm always just going to be proud of that project because it was my full artistic ability it wasn't just a hip hop album. It was actually based on as a spoken word that I had written about the war in every believer's heart of the old sinful way and the newfound, glory of Christ that everyone obtains through belief in him, and how that's at ever war with each other. And yeah, man, I loved that project. I loved that season of life. And I'm still doing music now, and now in the form of drumming. So now I've been a drummer for 2 years, and I think and I am self-taught, and I think the only way I was able to become naturally good at it was because of my season of writing lyrics to hip hop beats and recording and performing, like having such an understanding of 16 bars and having a natural metronome in my head instead of just hearing one. So yeah, dude, I'm always going to be thankful. And the thing is, like, I don't do any of my own stuff anymore when it comes to hip hop, but like Josiah, he's still doing it from time to time. He'll ask me to be featured on a project, and I still gladly do. I still will gladly write. I love it. And so that was the season of life that I'll always be grateful for. And I've met so many and made such good friends through it too. So
yeah, tell us a little bit about New York and Bible school.
Yeah. So the school is about half an hour south of Rochester, New York. Funny thing, that's where Chooch went for his undergrad. That's how I. That's
oh, really?
Yeah. So that's how I found out about it. They do a thing. It's called Elam Bible Institute, and they did a thing called. Well, they still do. It's called Discovery Days, and it's where outside students can just come and check out the school for 2 days. And you're given like a student that is studying there will take you under their wing and let you use their room and stuff. And you go to their classes with them, and you just get to find out more about the school. And so he took me, that was like February of 2011. And I fell in love with it. I knew it was going to do what I needed it to do. And I enrolled there, 6 or 7 months later. And and so there's Elam Bible Institute, and there's the greater covering called Elam Fellowship. And Elam Fellowship they're the ones with multiple churches across the world, missionaries across the world, and they're the ones, fast forward to now, they're the ones I am partnered with now as one of their missionaries. And I know you're going to ask me more about this for sure, but I'm a personal training resource for those missionaries through Elam Fellowship. So when I, started at Elam, it wasn't just, to me, it didn't become, just 3 years of schooling. It changed my life for the better. I'm roommates now with 3 of my closest friends, and all 4 of us met, the first day we enrolled at Elam. And we're best friends to this day. I'm working with the organization that is a part of it. So, it wasn't just a school for me. It truly changed my life.
Oh, growing up in a small suburban town like Westlake.
Yeah.
Transitioning from that into going into a big town like New York, was there a culture shock, or how was that switch up for you?
Honestly, no. Rochester is very size-wise. It just felt like I was just living outside of Rochester. I was living outside of Rochester just like I was living outside of Cleveland growing up in Westlake. Like the downtown is just 15 minutes from my parents' house, and there's farms 15 minutes to the opposite way. Growing up, going to school in near Rochester, same exact feel. Rochester and Cleveland are super similar. They're like, they're big cities, but they don't feel like it. Like, they don't feel heavily populated like New York City or LA or Atlanta or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, they're big cities that have a small town city vibe. You know what I mean? So that actually wasn't too difficult at all. It was where the school is located. It was a little actually more like boondocky than anything. Like the town the school was in only had one street light. So honestly, I went from like city life, and it felt more like city life in Westlake looking back, because I moved into a straight up hick town, dude. Like, it was like it took 20 minutes to get anywhere. If you wanted Chipotle, 20 minutes. Go to the mall, 20 minutes. Like, so it really wasn't it was more of a culture shock going home for, on breaks than it was.
Yeah, because actually New York City is huge. I've been there once.
Yeah.
Turned into a thug after 5 minutes. Let one more person bump into me.
I was in New York my second year. So your second year at Elam, the entire class goes on an internship program to an urban ministry school in New York City. We were in Queens. So I was there for 6 weeks, and yeah, dude, it was awesome. Like, the 6 weeks were cool, but I could not live there. Like, oh my gosh, I would hate to live in New York City. Like, I'm glad I had that experience, but man, I'd go nuts.
Did you meet Peter Parker? No? Okay. I thought I asked. Well, you never know. You never know.
Oh man, I can't believe you asked that. Yes and no. I'll say that. People will know it.
Yes and no. So you met a drunk guy dressed like Peter Parker?
No, as Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah, in Times Square.
All right.
That's a real story. Yeah.
Yeah, I took a bit. In Times Square, we took a group photo because I went there for a mission trip, and our group was big, and we didn't realize that until afterwards. So we got photobombed by a guy in like a Super Mario outfit or something. We were like, "What the?" But anywho, yeah, take us a little bit into your whole fitness jink dig. Yeah. Every time I see you on social media, you like trying to kick somebody's head off or something. Like, yeah. How did that start?
Yeah, so like I said, like, I love music and I loved the hip hop season, but something that has been me since I was a young boy was movement. Growing up, I had always, as a young boy, I was super inspired by Star Wars, Spider-Man, Tarzan, the Power Rangers, all of that stuff. And so I was it kind of made me into, like a wild child. And I just always wanted to be a ninja. And so when I got to the ages, I was about, 12 or 13, friends of mine were trying to get me to go to their Kung Fu school, which was in North Olmsted, which is a city right next to Westlake. And at the time, I was kind of like, maybe I kind of don't want someone telling me what to do and telling me how to do things. And at the time, man, I'll never forget. At the time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show on Nickelodeon, aired, and I was super into that, and I thought it was sweet. And so these, my friends were telling me to go to the school, and I was questioning it until they said, "Dude, the style of martial arts we learn is the same thing that the firebenders do in Avatar: The Last Airbender." Hey. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'll give this place I'll check this place out. And man, I mean, ever since then, fell in love with it. I've been studying Northern Shaolin Kung Fu ever since then. I learned under I learned under my teacher, Frank Versace, and him and I are still good friends to this day. And I'll see anytime I go back to Cleveland, I'll train with him, and he'll he'll kick my butt. But yeah, through studying Kung Fu, I fell in love with parkour, because at that time parkour started to make its way onto YouTube out of Europe, and it started to blow up. And I just felt, as soon as I saw that first video, I was like, I need to learn how to do this stuff. So I fell in love with parkour, free running, and started doing flips, and yeah, through those things, man, I started falling. After that, I fell in love with calisthenics and street workout, because that started making its way onto YouTube. So now I just do all of that stuff, because I just love to move. And so that's been me, for sure. Like, I love music, but movement is my absolute passion, and I love to do it. And so yeah, so once so I started doing that, and yeah, once Instagram started introducing videos, I began obviously posting my stuff and getting more well known in the community. And yeah, I just have such a love for it. And so last year, in the summer, yeah, a year ago, I actually had begun my own personal training side gig, my own business, and I was training parkour for kids, and then the adults usually were doing martial arts and just straight up body weight training, and I loved it, and I'm trying to do it, out here, but since COVID hit, it's made things a little difficult. But I love teaching people, but my big passion, like I knew that this could be used for something so much bigger than me and bigger than just making people healthier, but I wanted to use it to spread the gospel. I wanted it to be a way of the kingdom getting bigger. And so I remember with that idea in mind, I messaged I'm good friends with, so bringing it back to Elam Fellowship, the bigger covering, I messaged the global ministry director. I'm actually good friends with him. And I messaged him telling him, like, hey, dude, I just started this thing here, but here's what I really want to do with it. I would love to see missionaries and pastors not only become healthier, but through a healthier lifestyle and through a more physically conditioned body, that they would be able to minister the gospel more efficiently, more effectively, being less tired, and to have it spill over into their ministry and their evangelism. And I messaged that to him, and he was just like, dude, it's crazy that you're bringing that up. We're in the process of revamping our entire missionary training process, and we felt the Lord was telling us that physical health and wellness needs to be a top tier portion of that. Like, that needs to be up there along with the spiritual training, along with the emotional and psychological training. Physical needs to be up there. And man, since that email, that's when they brought me on board, and they've been putting together what is called the Missionary Academy, and it's going to be a 4 to 6 month training process for any missionary that wants to do evangelism through Elam Fellowship. And I've been brought on as the health and physical wellness director for that program. And so we're now in the process of making it a reality. Like, the past few months have been the planning phase, and now it's going to start becoming like a tangible, practical phase portion of their ministry. So yeah, that's what I am doing now.
Right, swag.
So, yeah, man, I love it.
Definitely. Music wise, what are you listening to nowadays?
Music wise, so still obviously listening to a lot of hip hop. I love what my favorite rapper is KB, for sure. That man is just a lyrical genius, and he just bumps. Like, when he goes hard, dude, like, he goes hard, but like he just has such wordplay. It's just crazy. But yeah, KB is a huge one for me. I love Andy Mineo. I love the whole Reach Records gang. Like, Lecrae will always be a monumental figure to me because of how much he helped me come to the Lord 10 years ago. But yeah, KB Andy Mineo, 1K Few, I love him. I think he's super dope. And so that's the hip hop side. My other huge side is metalcore. I love the heavy screaming breakdown music style. So that I've listened to since I've been into that since middle school. So big bands that I listen to are I love August Burns Red. I love Fit for a King. I listen to Wolves at the Gate, Wage War, Bless the Fall. Yeah, like I could go on forever. I love that style of music. So that's also what I listen to. I love mosh pits. That was something Josiah and I loved to do together. Like we loved performing rap concerts, but we also loved going to metalcore shows and getting into mosh pits and getting punched in the face and dragged on the floor. So yeah, we both have that passion for that style of music too. So yeah, those are my two things, hip hop and metalcore. Those are my big genres.
Dope. I listen to so much stuff. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
I had some people look at my Spotify and it's like, dude, what is wrong with you? But I think I'm at the point now where I mostly listen to stuff that like when I was a teenager, when I was coming to new music, that's what I listened to the most. So usually a lot of course I grew up with hip hop, but a lot of new metal, because that's what I really got into when I was in high school. So that's pretty much what I've been listening to the most now.
Yeah.
A lot of those bands.
Yeah. No, yeah, I love, and I'm always gonna be a huge fan of the early to mid 2000s alternative punk scene. That's how I taught myself how to drum. Like once I got the muscle memory down and the sounds down and like tons of drum tutorials through YouTube, once I, got a sense of rhythm with it, I immediately went to, Fall Out Boy, Simple Plan, Sum 41, bands that I grew up listening to. Because I grew up listening to them, I knew, like, I could hear the drum. Like, you know what? I knew that music well enough to just try and play it by ear. And so that's the style of music I used to, really get a natural tune for drumming. So I'll always love that style of music too.
Yeah, then a lot of that grunge and mid 2000s pop, like that's a good way to learn drums.
It is, man.
Because it's fast, but it's always super on beat,
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, you sure they didn't use a program or something with this?
Right.
Yeah, that's always a perfect way to. You named a lot of bands, but I'm gonna make you think about something real fun. Who would you say your top 5 favorite bands are?
Top 5 favorite bands.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'll try and work my way down from 5 to 1. 5, I would have to say.
Yeah, you don't have to do orders if it's too.
No, this is where it gets crazy. 5, I would say Dragon Force. And Dragon Force is a straight up, they're speed metal. Like that's their genre. They sound like a video game. They are insane. I always got made fun of for listening to them in high school, but I love them so much. Anytime you listen to them, their lyrics sound like they're just reading Revelations and they're making a song about it. Like that's just what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And they're insane, but I love it. I love the train to it because it's just crazy and it gets me hyped. So 5 would be Dragon Force. 4 would be Breaking Benjamin. Breaking Benjamin was a huge coming of age band for me. I heard them for the first time in 2004, and I fell in love. I think Benjamin Burnley when it comes to male vocals, singing vocals, he's my favorite for sure. I love his sound. I love his lyrical content, his message. I'll always love Breaking Benjamin. So they are 4. 3 would be We Came as Romans. And We Came as Romans is
What are they
They're
called?
they're metalcore,
I mean, what's the
and
name of the band?
We Came as Romans.
That is a cool name.
It is a sick name, yeah. And so that why I fell in love with them, and a lot of people fell in love with them in the same time. I think for me it was 2010, and they they have such a heavy sound, but they had such a ambient, mysterious vibe that I loved so much, and they did such a good job of balancing the heavy screaming vocals with super clean, high, beautiful, melodic, clean vocals. And RIP, a big RIP, because the clean vocalist did in fact die. I think it was last year or the year before, but that was definitely a heavy one. His name was Kyle. Man, that was definitely a big loss, because he had such a voice and he was so talented. He died at such a young age. Like, it is such a pity. It just hit hard. But yeah, so We Came as Romans. 2 would be August Burns Red. And they're just such a talented group of musicians. They're just, yeah, heavy. I know you listen to they have, when it comes to Christmas stuff, they kill it. That's my go-to. As soon as Christmas hits, man, Christmas season, I'm listening to August Burns Red, their Christmas albums.
When I was going to the gym, that was my playlist.
That's it, man. Yeah, they're just, and that's the thing. Like, they are so good. Like, those albums are good year-round. Like, they're just so heavy. They're so inspiring. And the number one, definitely Fit for a King. And why Fit for a King I would put at number one right now. I think those, they rotate. And, obviously I don't think anyone sticks to, like, their number one for life. But I would say Fit for a King is one, because when it comes to, they do a phenomenal job of keeping a very heavy, intense style of music. Like, they have some of the best metalcore breakdowns I've ever heard, but the sound, why they're my favorite, is that the sound of that breakdown isn't what really gets me. It's what they'll say right before it. You know what I mean? Like, they are so gospel driven that I love it. And like some of their lyrics, like, they have lyrics that go as far as saying, serpent or Satan burn in hell, or like take your life back from the darkness that has taken a hold of you, chase after the light. Like, stuff that they'll say and just scream in your ear, that just gets you hyped up. Like, that's the stuff I'll listen to when I'm just, like, feeling, depressed, or just being downtrodden by the enemy, where I need to make war. Like, that's the stuff I'm going to listen to. Fit for a King, man. So, yes. I know those were, like, very long descriptions, but I get really passionate.
No, I know you're probably just a little too young to remember, but there's a time where rock and hip hop actually had a big mutual respect for each other.
Absolutely, yes.
Nowadays, the rock scene is completely, so is the hip hop scene, but the rock scene is basically like a pop scene nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's say Nirvana. Like,
dude,
I made a Facebook post about this a couple months ago, but a lot of people don't realize how much hip hop actually loved Nirvana.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
dude.
They had a huge, like,
hardcore.
Even Lil Nas X. What was that song he made? Cowboy something. But I listened to some of his other music, because I was like, this dude's gonna be a one-hit wonder.
Right.
And I listened to one of his songs, and I was like, is this dude? I was like, was this dude listening to Nirvana? Like, this definitely sounds like Nirvana. Then a couple weeks later, I saw a video about hip hop and Nirvana, and sure enough, the producer of that song based it off of Nirvana.
Yeah, dude, you put, like, a heavy trap 808 beat right next to a heavy metalcore breakdown, and you'll notice, like, just from those two things, like, they're practically sisters, in the sense of just, like, they have the same, you could bop to the exact same, to both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you brought up, like, the rap and the hip hop and rock collabs, dude, one I still will listen to this day. I'll always love when Korn teamed up with 3 6 Mafia and they did Coming Undone with it together. That is still, obviously lyrics are crazy, but, like, to this day, that song still hits super hard, and I'll still bop to that. for sure. Yeah, there's definitely such a prime season for that.
Yeah, definitely. My favorite band is always Linkin Park.
Oh, I know.
They
I know.
blended everything extremely well, which is why when they did the Collision Course album,
Yeah.
Jay-Z actually chose
Yep.
them. They approached Jay-Z with this idea, and he chose Linkin Park.
Yep.
And the producer and the rapper Mike Shinoda, when he was listening to the music, he was like, a lot of these songs have the same, are in the same key and have the same tempo. He said that's what made it easier to really combine it together. It's like they're basically almost the same, basically. I think what's happening nowadays is, because of YouTube and reaction videos are becoming like really popular. I noticed
Yeah.
a lot of Black people are really like discovering rock again.
Yeah.
And then Linkin Park still, I mean, like Chester Bennington, I think he still, even though he tragically passed away 3 years ago.
Right.
He still is making it really comfortable for Black people to get into rock, because when you listen to his choruses and just the melodies he comes up with, like if he was a trap rapper, like when you put auto-tune on it, it'd blend well. Because he comes up with such like dope and creative melodies.
Yep.
And then the way his voice is and his pitch, like when he screams, like a lot of the bands you mentioned, like they have the lower end like scream.
Yep.
Like he does what was basically a high pitched scream, which is it's screaming, but he'll like ha, and then but just add a girth to it.
Yep.
And I think because it doesn't sound as like demonic as like the other ones,
Sure.
I think it made it a little easier for Black people to say, okay, this is,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, man. Like I'm almost excited about it. That's why I spend a lot of time on YouTube, because I'm excited about rock and hip hop rediscovering each other. Even nowadays, I think the younger kids with the trap metal and what's the guy's name? XXX Tentacion before he passed away. I think he was heading to that, because I heard one of his unreleased songs where he was actually screaming. I'm gonna have to get that to you. I'm like, this dude is screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't want to get into a full talk about politics or whatnot.
Sure, that's okay.
But just briefly explain, like, what do you think about what's happening nowadays in politics and race relations and everything?
Sure. I never, I was definitely one of those, as soon as the whole George Floyd thing blew up, I knew that I wasn't going to be as much of a voice as much as I needed to be an ear and listen, because obviously I'm white. In my life, I've never had any sort of racial discrimination towards myself. I was not going to pretend I knew what that was like. I was not going to pretend I knew how to understand the Black community. I just didn't know. And so what I knew to do, or what I thought would be the best way, and this is why I'm absolutely so thankful for my background in the hip hop community, is that through that season of life, I had made such good friends and went under such good leadership and mentorship by Black leaders, you included, big time. And what I knew to do was to look to those leaders. I definitely wasn't going to, big Republican voices that were in my life through social media. I wasn't going through big Democratic voices I didn't want to see it as political. I wanted to see it as human. Like, what is the human heart behind it? And so I wanted to see, I knew to go, the voices I wanted to hear were those Black leaders and those Black mentors that were so vital in my life and in my upbringing as a believer. What did they have to say on the matter? And that was it. That's all I wanted to do. And so anything you posted or said, I was on it, like just reading or watching. and same goes for the other leaders that were in my life. Ones to name: D. Will, big hip hop, big rapper in Rochester, huge influential voice. Pastor David Ham out of New York City, pretty big church there. I knew I wanted to listen to his voice. So just names to name a few, but I just knew I was ignorant and arrogant in the fact of I just didn't know, and so I wanted to, and so that was just how I did it. And man, it's just people can make it as political as they want, but in the end, it's demonic, it's evil. Racial discrimination is from the pit of hell, and it shouldn't be tolerated, nor be channeled as a political gain. So I don't think it shouldn't be dealt with through Republican or Democratic means. It needs to be dealt with by means for the sake of humanity itself. So that's what I just knew I needed to listen rather than voice an opinion. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of just, that's my 2 cents on the matter, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
I always try to see where people are coming from.
Yeah.
A lot of people just may not know, because I know when I was I grew up on the east side of Cleveland.
Yeah.
And that is the majority black side of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. When me and CW talked about he grew up on the west side of Cleveland, that's the most diverse side. Okay. So when I went to middle school, I went to Lincoln Junior, Luis Munoz, which is on the west side.
Yeah.
But growing up on the east side, and the most interactions I have with white people besides elementary kids was what I saw on TV. I was literally scared, because the thing around this time is when Columbine happened. So I was literally scared that a white person was going to blow the school up. I was literally scared he was going to blow the school up, shoot the school up. I was terrified.
Yeah, man. Like,
which I know nowadays, like, I know you saw some of my posts, like, I realized that I'm on the spectrum. So I think that, I didn't know that at the time, but I was like, well, so that probably amped up my anxiety.
Right.
But a big thing that changed when I got into high school is that's when I first got into rock music.
Okay.
So that's when I became comfortable with talking to people who didn't look like me. Mm-hmm. And my best friends in high school were white.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's pretty much what changed my whole view. But I understand that a lot of people don't get a chance to get that view. Yeah. And I realized that the same way that I grew up, a lot of white people grow up only seeing black people on TV. So this is their perception. Yep. This is what I think about black people, because this is all that I know. And something else is that I hate racism in general. Mm-hmm. Like, I periodically make posts just to remind people that I hate the way Asians are treated.
Sure.
Because I think that's a race that goes under the radar.
Yep.
Like, this past year, like, Asians were doing some real messed up crap to black people in China. That was jacked up. But in general, it's always been cool to make fun of the Asians. And I'm, like, always hated that. I have Asian friends. Yeah. I've always hated that. Yeah. But racism goes so many ways. Like, I don't know if I told you the story about the PNC in Westlake. So Moy says I crashed over his house one night. He gave me a ride to the bank. I went inside of the bank. Yeah. As soon as I walked in, all eyes zoomed in on me. Like, they didn't hide the fact that they were staring at me. So I'm like, okay, this is awkward. So I walk up. The guy, he's like, we don't allow hats in here. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So as I'm doing my home transaction things, he looks at me. He goes, this is the funny part. He goes, you're not from around here, are you? And the funny part about that is the guy was like Indian or something with an accent. Like a full accent. You're not from around here, are you? I'm like, me? I'm from like 20 minutes from here. I'm not from around here. I'm like, so this dude, like, racism goes so many ways. Like, you're not from around here. Like you live like you from like a 20-hour flight, my guy. You live 20 minutes from here. So yeah, when we talk about race, like, it's more than just white and black. It's demonic. It's all evil.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yep.
at the same way, I realize that it exists though, because a lot of people don't realize it exists. Like if I'm looking for a house nowadays, like if I were to buy a house somewhere that I know I'm going to live in for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
like I know that I want to move in a nice neighborhood, but a part of me is fearful of moving in a neighborhood that's too nice
Mm,
because I don't care about skin color at all. But
sure.
I realize that everybody else doesn't feel the same way.
Yeah. And it's, yeah.
Yep, and that's especially because I have my brother, who's not really my brother, but still my brother with me, and he's white and black. Like he looks black, but he grew up with the white side of his family.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know that by looking at him. But like, if somebody treats him a certain way, like I may lose it.
Mhm.
So, and that's the way that is. But I think something about what you said about the hip hop side, your perspective, I think that's important to be because a lot of people, it's possible to be a rapper and be racist.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like people like either don't know or forget that it's like people love black culture but don't like black people. Like
Hmm.
people has been stealing black cultures for years.
Yep.
Like I think that part of history has been forgotten because I see a lot of I don't want to say too much because some people may see these videos, but I see a lot of people who very have questionable, and other people usually call them out because I learned to shut up on social media. So I was like, all right, I'm done. But I
Yeah.
seen other people, it's like, aren't you a rapper and you feel this way about certain people? See, I feel like the way that you came from that perspective is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which in the same way, I think like when I like just me, like not a lot of black people listen to rock music. So I feel like when I get into that category of people, they trust me enough to where they tell me the truth,
Hmm.
which I have people tell me that let's say I met this one black person and he made your black people look stupid. And I was like, so one person made the whole race look stupid?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, yes, you did, but it's okay. I'm gonna talk to you about it, but you meant it. It's okay.
Right.
But yeah, that's
Right.
insane. Man, so it's been good catching up with you, man. Any
Yeah.
upcoming projects or anything?
Projects.
Yeah, anything what you're up to?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like who you drumming for?
So I'm actually, so I do, like the church I attend out here, I'm on the worship team for that. And I'll drum on Sunday mornings, but I actually was just, recently invited to be in a Rochester based local band, to play drums for, and it's just all good friends of mine.
Hey.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're actually, I think it's led by a married couple, dear friends of mine, very talented musicians. And they're already talking about they want to like record next month, and they want to start doing
Uh-oh,
local.
Skillet 2.0 coming.
Oh man, dude, yeah. So yeah, so that's the music side. Physical side, yeah, just putting out, always just putting out movement content on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And I'm also, I didn't get into it, but I also, with my love for movement, I also have a huge love for movies. I actually also do stunt for film and TV. And last November, I finally got my first stunt credit in a film that's directed by the Russo brothers. They filmed in Cleveland, and I finally was a stunt double for a day.
Hey.
So that's why I laughed when you said, did you meet Peter Parker? I actually did, because I worked with Tom Holland.
Hey.
So yeah, that's why I laughed. But that's all I can say about that. I did sign a non-disclosure statement. I can't really give off a lot of what I did.
Yeah, but I'm not about to get sued.
Yeah, for real, especially by the Russo brothers. So yeah, but the movie is called Cherry, and it'll be dropping hopefully in theaters later this year. It depends on the whole pandemic, but hopefully November, December, but we'll see. And so right now, yeah, just kind of waiting until more of COVID starts to die down, and then hopefully back to, I know some more films will be starting production soon in Cleveland, and hopefully I can be on one of those. So yeah, that's something I also do. So, but right now, big thing is now starting to get this physical training ministry off the ground. So that's definitely the big one on the agenda.
Swag. Do you see yourself coming out of retirement and dropping some bars in the future?
If I'm asked to, I will gladly do it.
Uh-huh.
If you put on a track, man, I'll do it.
Uh-huh, for sure. All right, so where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram under just Garret Ielapi. Hopefully Jamil puts that in the description because everyone gets that wrong, which I totally get. It's a weird.
What? Ella?
Yeah, so you can find me, there on Instagram. Same thing on TikTok, Garret Ielapi, and you can find me on Facebook too. So.
All right, definitely. Well, all right, Garret, it's a pleasure catching up with you, man.
You too, bro, for real. Thanks so much for having me on here. I was honored.
No problem. I hope everything goes well. I'm going to put his information down there. Look him up on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, voicemail, email, message by pigeon, send him all that. Yeah.
Carrier pigeon.
All right, for sure, man. Take care.